Jimmy Butler just dropped a bold take that's turning heads across the NBA, calling out how the Houston Rockets defended Stephen Curry in the Warriors' latest loss. According to Butler, the Rockets didn't just slow Curry down, they exposed a blueprint that could shake up the entire league. He says they played Steph like no one else has dared to this season, and it worked. When a defensive mastermind like Jimmy speaks on Curry's game, you better believe people listen. Could this be the beginning of a new strategy against Golden State's superstar? Is Steph in trouble heading into the playoffs? This isn't just another game reaction, this could change how teams defend the greatest shooter in NBA history. Let's break it down. Alright, basketball fans, get ready because this one is going to stir the pot across the league. When Jimmy Butler speaks, people listen. And this time, the Miami Heat star had some strong words after watching the Golden State Warriors suffer a rough loss at the hands of the Houston Rockets. Now, anytime Steph Curry gets locked up, or even slowed down, people start taking notes. But when a defensive-minded superstar like Butler gives his take, you better believe it means something. And this time, Butler wasn't holding back. He had a bold take, one that might not sit well with Warriors fans or even some folks in the Bay. But love him or hate him, Jimmy Buckets knows defense. He lives for the grind. And his comments about how the Rockets handled Curry are starting to ripple across the league. So what exactly did Butler say? Well, after watching the game, Jimmy reportedly told a group of reporters and insiders that the Rockets played Curry like nobody else has dared to this season. He praised their physicality, their discipline, and the way they didn't give up an inch of breathing room. According to Butler, the Rockets didn't just guard Steph, they studied him. They came in with a plan, and they executed it like a veteran playoff team. He even went so far as to say that the Rockets' defensive approach should be the blueprint for every team that has to deal with Curry's off-ball chaos, his deep range, and his non-stop movement. Now let's pause right there, because that's a bold statement coming from a guy like Jimmy Butler. We're talking about a player who has battled against Curry in the finals. A guy who has guarded some of the best scorers in the world. When Butler compliments a team's defense, it's not just small talk. It means they did something right. And in this case, what they did was hold the greatest shooter of all time to one of his least efficient games of the season. Steph finished with a subpar shooting night, couldn't find his rhythm, and was visibly frustrated by the constant traps, switches, and body checking he was dealing with. The Rockets weren't just playing hard, they were playing smart. And here's where things get even more interesting. Jimmy Butler didn't just praise the Rockets' game plan, he called out the rest of the league for not doing it sooner. He said teams let Curry run wild too often, and that too much respect is given to his off-ball movement. Butler believes that the only way to slow Steph down is to treat him like a top-tier wide receiver in the NFL. In other words, bump him at the line, fight through screens, stay physical, and never relax. Butler said, you gotta make him feel you every possession. If he's running off a screen, you better be running through it. If he's dancing with the ball, you better crowd his space. If not, he'll torch you like he always does. Now you might be thinking, okay, but this is just one game, right? Well, yes and no. The Warriors have been struggling this season with consistency. Curry is still putting up all-star numbers, but the team around him has been up and down. Klay Thompson's role is changing, Draymond Green has missed time, and the young guys are still figuring it out. And on nights when Curry is shut down, the entire Warriors offense can look flat. That's exactly what happened against the Rockets, and that's exactly what Butler was pointing out. He wasn't just analyzing one game, he was diagnosing a weakness. A potential Achilles heel that could haunt Golden State in the postseason if other teams take notes. But don't get it twisted, Butler wasn't dissing Curry. In fact, he made sure to remind everyone that Curry is still the most dangerous offensive weapon in the league when he's on. He called him the hardest guy to guard off the ball in NBA history. But his point was simple: if you don't disrupt him early, he'll ruin your night. The Rockets disrupted him. They threw multiple defenders at him, they played tight switches, and they communicated constantly. Every time Curry tried to sneak into space, someone was right there. And Butler noticed that. He said they didn't fall asleep. That's what impressed me. They stayed locked in. No ball watching. No lazy recoveries. Just pure focus. You don't see that often. This kind of attention to detail is something Butler lives for. He's known for his intense defensive focus and his obsession with effort. So when he sees a young team like the Rockets, who have been building something under coach Ime Udoka, playing that hard on defense, it gets his respect. He said they looked like a playoff team. Not just on offense but defensively. That's the difference maker. That's how you win when it matters. And coming from a guy who has carried an 8th-seeded Miami squad to the finals on the back of elite defense and clutch scoring, those words carry serious weight. The Rockets, to their credit, have been one of the surprise stories of the season. With a young core and a new identity under Udoka, they're turning heads. They've gone from being a bottom-tier rebuilding team to a dangerous squad that can compete on any given night. And it's nights like the one against Golden State that show just how far they've come. It wasn't just about beating the Warriors, it was about how they did it. The discipline, the effort, the maturity, it's what turned Butler's head and why his comments are making headlines. Now let's flip the script. How do the Warriors respond to something like this? Because let's be real, when a respected star like Butler publicly points out a defensive scheme that worked against your franchise player, it's a call to action. You better believe Steve Kerr and the coaching staff are reviewing that tape. You better believe Curry is already in the gym, adjusting, preparing, and working on new ways to shake free. Because if Butler's right and teams start copying what the Rockets did, then Golden State needs a counterpunch. Maybe that means more ball handling from Klay or Kuminga. Maybe it means using Curry as more of a decoy to open up space for others. Maybe it means staggering the rotations to get Steph more space against bench units. Whatever it is, the Warriors are going to have to evolve. Because as Butler's comments prove, teams are figuring things out. The margin for error is shrinking. And in the Western Conference, every game counts. And let's not forget, Butler's Heat could end up facing the Warriors down the road. A finals rematch isn't impossible. Miami's been lurking, playing that gritty brand of basketball, and they're always dangerous in the playoffs. So this might not just be commentary, it might be scouting. Butler sees something. He's filed it away. And if these teams meet again, he'll be ready. But let's bring it back to the main point. Jimmy Butler, a defensive mastermind and playoff warrior, just gave the Rockets a huge stamp of approval for how they defended the most dangerous shooter the game has ever seen. That's not something you hear every day. And it raises a lot of questions about the future of this Warriors team, about Steph's adaptability, and about how young teams like the Rockets are starting to change the narrative.